Alright, so this is my very first MGF. I don't really consider it an MG though, it's more Rover than anything. Green leather, dark green. Had to get a green car, green leather. I think it's a nice combination. Soft top latches are just like the Miata. Quite interesting. And then the back opens with these clips. So the back folds forward. So that's kind of cool. Now I thought this had Rover on the engine, but this one does not have Rover on the engine. Alright, so mid-engine, 1.8. This is non-VTEC or non-VVC. This is a very complicated heater hose that I had to replace when I got the car. Other than that, it started out fine. Just changed the oil. Interesting learning curve on this car. I just noticed that there's a engine bay temperature switch, an ambient engine bay temperature sending unit. It's over here. I'll show you in a minute. And then there's a fan over here to just for the engine bay. I should see if I can test that to see if that comes on. Looks like the ECU is here. Airbox, fuel injection. If this was VVC, I think this would have it stamped on here, but this is non-VVC. And there's a little ambient temperature switch right here. Kind of looks like a fire extinguisher a little bit, spray nozzle, but no, it's just the ambient engine bay temperature. Here's the oil filler, which is pulled out of the plastic intake. It's really slow on a little tube, but if you have the cover off, you can fill it up normally. So you can open the boot with the key. And the only way to open up the front is with the lever here. So if you lock your key in here, you're kind of screwed. Apparently you have to break the taillight. But I'm going to see if I can run an extra cable, kind of like the Honda, because I think I have a Del Sol extra cable, and I can run down into the passenger compartment for a boot release cable. Apparently there's some electric ones and some aftermarket ones you can do, so when I get it home, I had to replace all the brakes. These calipers and rotors are completely shot. They're probably original. And of course the lug nuts are these horrible lug nuts with caps on them. They're like steel with stainless steel caps, and then of course the steel swells, and then the caps are, they're supposed to be 19s, but anyway, really bad design. So I got to replace those with regular lug nuts. Real pain in the butt. Brake hoses are definitely need to be replacing, and I have new stainless steel hoses, but I don't have a 10 mil flare nut, or it's a 10 millimeter spanner. Brake line spanner is what they call it here. So I can't get the hard line off the hose yet. I'm gonna see if I can borrow one and change out these hoses. I got to do the front. And the other thing I was needing to do, I had to take this bottom skid plate off. Spiders love this car. The front, I got to replace the wiper motor. I got a new one. It's very questionable. Apparently water drips in here and gets into the motor and screws up the motor. So people actually reseal it, or you put a plastic cover over this. Just putting a shield here would probably work. So yeah, I got to change the motor. Everything else seems fine. Brake booster seems fine. Clutch seems fine. Master cylinder seems fine. It charges fine. It's just really dirty. It was off the road for 4 years because the guy had a torn heater hose. That's why he parked it, and then he had a baby. So didn't have time to play with the car, so he's lost my gain. So here's the major part that I'm replacing. I gotta replace the cable ties on the line there, but this is the radiator coolant line that runs from the back all the way up to the front, and it's as they would say, it's perished. Corrosion, as the British would say. So I have a brand new stainless one. Actually, it's used because I paid half price. But I got a stainless steel pipe to put on. So I got to clip these cable ties off, put some new zip ties on, and then refill it with coolant. But the bottom actually looks really good. The subframe has some corrosion. It doesn't look too bad though, actually. It's just the brakes need to be replaced. So the backs are done. I got to do the fronts next after I get this coolant pipe replaced, and got to get my stepbrothers to help me bleed it. Did the hydro gas suspension refill. That's up here on the front. So when I first saw these, I thought they were AC lines, but I don't have the AC. It was an option. They actually offered power steering and ABS and air conditioning, but I don't have any of those. Power steering would be here. But it's cool. This front bay is actually made like a Triumph. It could be left or right-hand drive. So that's the heater box, and that's a wiper mechanism. But this plate that it's mounted on, it appears that it covers the left-hand drive heater box. So you could swap these. So there's a hole in there for the heater box. So again, it's symmetrical. So the battery can go here or over here, depending if it's left or right-hand drive. Toolbox, jack, spare, wiper bottle, and there's a big plastic cover that covers all this. So once I'm done, I'll put that back in. We're going to pressure wash it and clean it. Yeah, and radiator bleed valve, another bleed nipple for the heater. A couple little nicks here and there, but actually in pretty good shape. Of course, again, it's more rover than anything. And it's a blast to drive. The steering is very light. I don't know why they offered power steering, but it's a very light steering, and it's just fun. It's like a go-kart. So far, I like it better than the Miatas and the Lotus that I drove. I think the Lotus was running the Toyota engine, but the early Lotuses that weren't imported in the States were running the same Rover K-Series engine. And as far as I know, this K-Series engine was never sold in North America. So, of course, it's 25 years old. Well, this one will be, so I can import this later. But yeah, this car's pretty cool. A lot of kind of Audi TT kind of feel. Apparently they added that style after the TTs. So let me get this coolant pipe replaced and get this thing back on the road. Bleed the brake lines after I get the front rotors and discs replaced, calipers, and if I can get these hoses off, I will replace the hoses with stainless brake hoses. But fun little cool little toy. Alright, well, I get to play with this before I go home.